Okay, let's get into this.
To all the leftists whining about Trump cutting off FEMA funding to the North Carolina hurricane victims, he just approved $1.4 billion to help them rebuild. Trump is here to help, unlike FEMA.
FEMA's entire purpose is to help. Its entire reason for existing is helping. But okay, let's get into Trump's $1.4 billion assistance to North Carolina hurricane victims. Hurricane Helene survivor reacts to Trump administration aid response. Helene survivors and volunteers aid recovery efforts as Trump administration vows to eliminate FEMA. On April 25th, North Carolina Governor Josh Stein announced that the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, under the Trump administration, had approved a $1.4 billion grant for post-Hurricane Helene rebuilding efforts. Last year, Hurricanes Helene and Milton devastated some of the most impoverished regions of the U.S., leaving behind billions of dollars in damages and resulting in hundreds of deaths. This is great news for Western North Carolina, said Governor Josh Stein in a statement. I thank the Trump administration for moving quickly to approve this plan so we can get busy rebuilding people's homes. Let me pause right there. It's disgusting that he even has to say that for fear of Trump not doing it. Because we're going to get into what Trump really did to begin with and how quote unquote quickly this was. The grant that the Trump administration approved was called the Action Plan, and its approval was the next step required for the state to receive federal funds from HUD's Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Grant Award. According to a press release from the North Carolina governor's office, HUD must still certify the state's financial control of the grant in order for the state to begin using the funds. Regardless of the funding, the fact still remains that over 2,000 people are homeless due to Helene, said M.J. Tucker, a Western North Carolina resident who is originally from New Orleans and is a survivor of both Hurricane Katrina and Helene. Tucker is skeptical of Trump's commitment to aid. She referenced the administration's targeting of the recovery plan of the city of Asheville, particularly hard hit by Helene, for including programs relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We will not provide funding to any program or grantee that does not comply with President Trump's executive orders, said HUD Secretary Scott Turner of Asheville's program. That should speak volumes about the Trump administration's ability to actually want to help, Tucker said. Until I see actual effort being made instead of just articles, I won't believe it. North Carolina Governor Stein also put out a separate press release on April 25th asking Trump to reverse a decision by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, to not renew its 100% match for funding Helene relief effort costs. Stein had requested that the government provide an additional $11.6 billion in disaster relief funding. The first place Trump visited outside of Washington, D.C. after being sworn in for his second term as president was the hurricane-ravaged city of Asheville in western North Carolina. We've come to North Carolina with a simple message for all the people of this region who were hit so hard by Hurricane Helene, Trump said during his January visit to Asheville. And that message is very simple. You are not forgotten any longer. Trump claimed that the people of Asheville had been treated very badly by the previous administration, and in contrast, the newly elected president made a flurry of promises to Hurricane Helene victims. You need your riverbanks fixed. You need a lot of roads fixed, and we're going to get it done in rapid time, Trump said. But Hurricane Helene survivor M.J. Tucker says we have been forgotten by the Trump administration. He came here and did a photo op, Tucker said. He promised so much money. If you drive through Black Mountain today, there's still towns wiped out. There's a grocery store that is not back up and running, and it's leaving the entire town without a grocery store because where's the money? Where's the relief money at? It's not here. Nobody knows about Helene anymore, said Tucker. Nobody's talking about it. It's not in the news. It's not in the newspapers. It's not on social media. It's not anywhere. It's not relevant anymore. So yeah, we've been forgotten. Trump had sharp criticism of FEMA's response, the government agency responsible for disaster relief in the wake of Hurricane Helene during the Biden administration. The people of North Carolina deserve faster, better action. FEMA needs to cut the red tape and get the job done, Trump said during a press briefing. But in April of 2025, under the Trump administration's FEMA denied North Carolina's request to extend FEMA aid for Hurricane Helene efforts, according to the state governor, Josh Stein. I am extremely disappointed and urge the president to reconsider FEMA's bad decision. 6 months later, the people of Western North Carolina are working hard to get back on their feet. They need FEMA to help them get the job done, wrote the governor on Twitter. Trump also denied a FEMA funding extension to Georgia in February for the state to apply for Helene relief. And asking for additional FEMA funding on April 25, Governor Stein wrote asking Trump to reconsider FEMA's regretful decision to extend our 100% cost share period for 6 months. Failing that, then for 3 months. Doing so would allow us to continue to build on the momentum that you have helped us achieve. It's no surprise, given that Trump officials have threatened to eliminate FEMA altogether. It's been over 6 months since Hurricane Helene, and recovery and relief efforts remain ongoing. Libba White has been running volunteer-led relief efforts throughout Western North Carolina since the hurricane hit, attempting to aid people in the rebuilding process. White says people are really angry. Many Helene survivors White spoke to are being backcharged for utilities, not hearing from FEMA, getting denied by FEMA despite having nowhere to go. That's when the outreach took a really political turn, White said. White and other organizers met Helene survivors who had been staying in hotels off of vouchers and facing a deadline after which they would be kicked out of these hotels. They had nowhere to go after no other shelter or anything like that. A lot of these people were elderly and disabled as well, which was terrible to hear because, these are community members, and we wanted to make sure that they actually been taken care of and not just allowed to fall through the cracks like they didn't matter. So Trump came there months ago and said we're going to get it done in rapid time, and he just now approved a $1.4 billion grant through HUD that you don't get if you participate in DEI activities. Now let's take a look what happened under the Biden administration. President Joe Biden approves major disaster declaration for North Carolina. This was September 29th, 2024, just ahead of the hurricanes, which, by the way, is how long it's been since those fucking hurricanes hit. FEMA announced that federal disaster assistance is available to the state of North Carolina to supplement recovery efforts in the areas affected by Tropical Storm Helene from September 25, 2024, and continuing. The president's actions make federal funding available to, here's all the counties. Federal funding is also available on a cost-sharing basis for hazard mitigation measures statewide, so forth, so on. So forth, so on. Then, Congress, which at the time the House was run by the Republicans, and that's where the spending bills come from, finally passed a bill in December for these people. Keep in mind, they got hit at the end of September. With 6 hours left before a government shutdown, the U.S. House came up with a compromise that both Republicans and Democrats could agree on, and that includes disaster relief aid for victims of Hurricane Helene. The bill extends government funding until March 14th and provides more than $100 billion in disaster relief aid and $10 billion for farmers, but strips out President-elect Donald Trump's request to extend the debt limit. 34 Republicans voted against the bill, including Representative Dan Bishop, a Republican from North Carolina. Representative Jasmine Crockett, a Democrat from Texas, voted present. Shame on her. All other lawmakers from North Carolina supported it. The Senate quickly approved the bill, and Joe Biden signed it. So Joe Biden provides federal aid, opens up the ability for people in North Carolina to submit for federal aid before the hurricane hits, has to then wait on the Republicans to pass a bill. They pass it. He signs it. It includes $100 billion for efforts in North Carolina. Then your guy is elected. He does an immediate photo op, promises that everything's going to move quickly, and 3 months later, finally announces $1.4 billion in grants, and you think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Make that make sense.